Welcome to Shay's Warriors, Talk, Listen, Share. Let me give you a little introduction about who Shay's Warriors are. And Shay's Warriors is a 501c3, not-for-profit, all-volunteer board of directors that was formed in the Coachella Valley to help our cancer community thrive after treatment ends. The mission of Shay's Warriors is to inspire, inform, empower through health, fitness, and the mind-body connection, to heal survivors and their families through a national support system. Talk, Listen, Share community was formed as part of our online educational outreach to support each other through survivorship and thrivership. And the Talk, Listen, Share host board consists of Shay Moraga, who is the founder, and Dr. Sonja Fung, who is a naturopathic doctor specializing in integrative cancer care. And my name is Rosemary Flaherty. I am a retired RN who was a breast cancer navigator at one point in time. And that is how I connected with Shay's Warriors. So thank you very much for joining us. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight. The topic tonight is safe aromatherapy practices after cancer treatment. And Catherine Copen is our guest speaker. Catherine is a registered aromatherapist and is a registered clinical aromatherapist, aromatherapy educator, master body worker, and someone who is passionate about plants. Her original work on aromatherapy has been published in multiple peer-reviewed journals and industry publications. She is a popular speaker at industry conferences. Kath has long been fascinated by the connection between essential oils and the mind-body healing, which led her into specializing in cancer support, pre- and post-surgical care, and somato-emotional integration. Tonight's presentation is aromatherapy. It has exploded into the wellness scene, but many casual users don't realize popular essential oils may not be safe for everyone or for every ailment. This is especially important for cancer survivorship and those actively undergoing cancer treatment, since many essential oils can be inappropriate or even harmful to their recovery. We'll discuss basic safety tips, talk about specific safety issues in cancer thrivers, dispel some common aromatherapy myths, and take a look at reliable resources of information on essential oil usage. Empower yourself by learning how to enjoy these healing and delightful fragrances responsibly. Catherine, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Rosemary. And thank you all for having me back again. So tonight, we're going to talk about essential oils safety. I'm going to start out by going through some basic safety tips that anyone using essential oils needs to know, but that people are not commonly aware of. Because so many of us nowadays, we're interested in natural remedies. We walk down to the health food store, walk through the cosmetics aisle or wherever, and pick up a few essential oils without really knowing what they do. We may just like the fragrance, and we don't necessarily know how to use them appropriately. I'm then going to go through a little bit about essential oils for cancer support and then post-cancer, which is what Shay's Warriors is all about. Essential oils that need to be avoided and special considerations for cancer survivors. So I'm also going to give you a few little formulas on the way and some resources where you can get reliable information on essential oils, because honestly, if you look on the internet, you can find pretty much anything you want, and most of it regarding aromatherapy is inaccurate. So let's start out. Probably your takeaway from this tonight, if you don't remember anything else, is that natural remedies, whether they are essential oils, herb capsules, herb tinctures, flower essences, whatever. Just because something is natural does not mean it is always safe or even appropriate to use. And essential oils, we know so much more about them because consumer interest in them has gotten huge in the last 5 to 10 years. And sadly, because of a lot of adverse effects, we've begun to learn a lot more about what the oils cannot do as well as what they can do. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And probably one of the biggest mistakes people make when they start out using essential oils is that they don't dilute them properly. Essential oils are extremely, extremely potent liquids. So much so that one little drop of essential oil can be the equivalent of 75 pounds or more of dried plant matter. And if you try to visualize a 75-pound bale of rosemary needles or lavender buds, think of something that's about the footprint of a twin bed. That's huge. So you don't want to be putting that much oil directly on your skin without diluting it. And what we do is we dilute with something called a vegetable carrier oil, which is simply any oil you can pick up at the grocery store. A lot of people will go with something like olive oil or safflower oil. I don't recommend those. They're very heavy and they have an odor to them. Instead, in aromatherapy, we prefer to use a lightweight, very absorbent oil carrier. So that can be something like sweet almond oil, macadamia nut oil, camellia oil. There are dozens of them available, but these are very lightweight. They absorb quickly into the skin, and they have their own skin aiding properties in terms of having a lot of vitamins and minerals and essential fatty acids and whatnot in them. If you don't like the idea of using a lightweight absorbent oil, you can use a non-scented gel or lotion. But remember that when you pick up an aromatherapy book or you look online and you find a recipe, the formulas and the dosages given in these books and whatnot are for normal, healthy adults. So if you're working with a child, if you're having major health problems, if you're working with someone who is elderly and infirm, they require a lot smaller doses. And we have a saying in aromatherapy, less is best. Honestly, you should only be using at most a 2% dilution. And that's 2 drops of essential oil for every 100 drops of carrier oil or gel or lotion that you're using. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's really effective. In fact, I have a friend who worked for many years in R&D for Aveda Corporation, and they have a ton of money that they throw at research. And they knew up front that essential oils were effective in small doses. They used them in a lot of their cosmetic formulations. What they were shocked to discover is that essential oils were effective at microscopic concentrations for skincare. So we really want to respect these oils. If you're using them on your face, you use even less. A 1% dilution is plenty. And if you don't dilute your oils, if you use them undiluted, you will, I don't know in what time frame, but you will eventually develop a sensitization, which looks like an allergic reaction. It most often presents itself as a burning or tingling sensation, maybe blistering, may look like eczema or contact dermatitis. And this means you become sensitized to the oils. It depends on how often you use the oil, your body chemistry, and how much of it you've used. So a few applications, if you're very sensitive, could cause you to be sensitized. If you're using your oils undiluted, it may take a few weeks or a few months, and even in a couple cases I've known of, a few years. But most of us who are professionals, because we use the oils so often, even diluted, have eventually become sensitized to one or two oils. So you want to avoid that, so please do dilute, 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 dilute down. And if you want a quick and dirty formula for blending your essential oils, 1 drop of essential oil to 1 teaspoon of your carrier oil or lotion or gel. That is plenty. And so let me do a little demo on an application that you might want to use that's very popular. And those are little roll-ons. And you can look online on Pinterest and find all sorts of recipes for roll-ons that are all inaccurate, because they all say take a little bottle this big that's about 1/3 of an ounce and fill it halfway or 2/3 of the way with essential oil and then add your carrier. Well, believe it or not, you need only 6 drops of essential oil in here for 1/3 of an ounce. That's not very much at all, but that much will be effective for your application. So what I'm going to do here is pretend that I'm filling this up with an oil. I happen to like apricot kernel a whole lot because it doesn't cause any allergic reactions with anybody, just about. You would fill your apricot kernel up almost to the top. You want to leave some room for shaking up your essential oils. And I would add about 6 drops of, I'm going to use my relaxation response blend, and that has in it vetiver, frankincense, ylang ylang, petitgrain, and bergamot. And after that, all of these come in a multi-piece assembly. You're going to put the little roller ball, snap it in to the top, put this with some force into your little bottle, screw the cap on, and this is a great way to take aromatherapy to go. So you can just throw this in your briefcase, your purse, your pocket, and have a roll-on. And for stress relief, for relaxation, you can put a few drops of this on your temples, on your wrists, on the crease of your elbow, anywhere that you have a pulse point, basically, is the most effective place to put this. And you give it about 10 or 15 minutes for it to, before it takes effect on you. So getting back to essential oil safety issues, I realize that Shay's Warriors has a lot of younger women involved, and a lot of you are probably of childbearing age. So we want to make sure, absolutely sure, that we do not use essential oils on babies who are under 6 months of age. A baby's skin is highly permeable. It's different than adult skin, so they absorb a lot more than we do, and they get irritated by a lot more things than an adult skin would. Also, a 4-month-old, 5-month-old, 6-month-old child is still undergoing sensory development of all their senses, and one of the things they're learning to do, and this is very crucial in the first months of life, is bond with their parents, particularly their mother. Using frequent use of essential oils around babies, this is on the mother, the baby can smell it on them, or directly on the baby, actually will affect, we know this now through research, will affect the baby's ability to bond with the mother. That is a lifelong problem, so you want to avoid that. Many essential oils cannot be metabolized by babies. You wouldn't feed your baby a martini and a T-bone steak and a handful of carrot and celery sticks for dinner, because they can't chew, right? They can't metabolize alcohol. So just the same, you wouldn't use essential oils on them. In fact, quite a few oils will cause respiratory distress and nervous collapse in infants. And there have been hospitals where essential oils have been banned from having the patients bring them in, because people have actually sent infants into the ICU who were born perfectly healthy by using aromatherapy on them. thinking they were doing the best thing they could for their newborn, but not having enough experience with aromatherapy to know that they were doing something harmful. So I realize a lot of these safety issues occur because people, are following advice that was given to them legitimately with good intentions, but by someone who was not trained. And in terms of your older kids, keep essential oils out of their reach. I hate seeing online memes about leaving boxes of essentials oils out in the kitchen so the kids can grab them whenever they want and you can use them in your cooking and whatnot. Things like sweet orange, mandarin oil, those to kids smell like candy. And kids, particularly younger ones, will stick things in their mouths, and we do not want that to happen. So should your child ingest essential oils, what you want to do is call poison control immediately. Tell them what the kid swallowed and follow their instructions. Don't try to induce vomiting unless poison control tells you to do so. So if you are pregnant or you are actively trying to become pregnant, because again, I realize that a lot of listeners are going to be still in childbearing age, please don't use any essential oils unless you've consulted with a professional aromatherapist. There are very few oils that clinical research indicates are actually safe with pregnancy. Some are okay for one trimester and not another. Some are okay for the actual birth process, but not pregnancy itself. And don't assume that your OB-GYN nurse or your midwife or your doula, if they're making essential oil recommendations, are properly trained in them, because sadly, most of them are not. So you do want to check their credentials in aromatherapy before you follow any of their recommendations. So if you are actively being treated for any complex illness, if it's autoimmune disease, if you're actively being treated for cancer, again, you want to work directly with a professional aromatherapist. Do not try to self-medicate, because you can interfere with a lot of your medications, treatment protocols, whatever. If you are taking multiple medications, 30 years ago, we didn't worry about this. People maybe took 1 or 2 prescription drugs, if that. Nowadays, even younger people in their 40s and 50s may be taking 10 or 12 or 15 or even 20 or more prescription medications. The more prescription medications you take, the more likely it is for the drugs to start interfering with each other. When you introduce on top of that essential oils into the mix, even simply by inhalation or topical application, you increase the possibility that you're either going to have an essential oil drug interaction or a drug-drug interaction that you wouldn't otherwise have. The same with people who have liver or kidney disease. These are the organs that process waste material in our bodies. Essential oils are not natural to our bodies, and actually they're pretty difficult for the liver to break down. So by any route of ingestion, we don't want to do that. And remember that essential oils are highly combustible. They catch fire easily. This is why I don't recommend using those little light bulb diffusers, the little hollow rings that you put on top of a light bulb and you pour essential oil into them. Those, if anything happens where the light bulb gets dislodged, can cause a fire. Same thing with candles. And by the way, there is nothing wrong with burning aromatherapy candles. Just realize that most of them do not contain any essential oil at all. They contain synthetics. And part of it is because the essential oils are so volatile. But if you want to diffuse something into a room, what I recommend using is a diffuser. There are many of these available on the market. This particular one is an ultrasonic diffuser, which is the most popular in terms of what's available out there. You can even find them in Target and Bed Bath and Beyond and all the big box stores. And you simply put water inside them and add 5, 6, 7 drops of essential oil and turn them on. So what we can use these for is relaxing at the end of the day. If you've had a day where you need to take the edge off, diffuse for 15 minutes, 30 minutes. If you're having trouble sleeping, if you're having trouble coping with the day, period. Anxiety and depression, inhalation work great for that. So what you might want to do is put a blend, say, of bergamot and lavender in your diffuser. That's a great blend to take the edge off in the evening. Bergamot has been studied extensively since the 1970s for its effect on anxiety. This was done in psychiatric hospitals in Italy, and it is very effective for relieving anxiety, and it's actually one of my favorite oils. So make sure when you're diffusing that you do so properly. Really a maximum, absolute maximum 45 minutes. Many people leave their diffusers running throughout the night. That is not only a waste of essential oil, but it possibly can cause some adverse effects. And you also, after about 30 minutes or so, will develop what's called odor blindness. And all of us have had that experience. If you've cooked something in your kitchen, you're broiling some salmon steaks, and after a few minutes, you get used to that cooking odor, and you leave and you go out and empty the trash. You come back in and it's, oh my God, that horrible fish smell. So that's an example of odor blindness. That happens with essential oils as well. And if we can't smell them, we're not necessarily getting the pleasure out of them, although we may be getting healing effects out of them. So keep your diffusion time short. It is, believe it or not, possible to OD off diffusing essential oils for too long. And what can happen if you do that is people develop mental confusion, lack of focus. They may get nausea or headaches. They may become dizzy. They may get a headache, or they may feel faint, or they can become hypervigilant and jittery. So it's very important to diffuse safely. I like the diffusers that have an automatic timer on them because they'll shut off after a specific period. And if you don't have a diffuser with a timer, you can usually get a light timer, such as you would for traveling, and put the same thing that you would put on a light or appliance that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's. So you can have a timer on your diffuser. So many essential oils are, relatively speaking, safe, but some carry cautions or contraindications. You make sure if you buy or use an essential oil that you know what these are, because the government does not regulate essential oils, and it is not responsible for telling you that. Neither are the people who sell you essential oils, believe it or not. They are not legally obligated to disclose safety information. So a typical caution might be phototoxicity. The bergamot I mentioned before is a phototoxic essential oil. That means that if you put it on your skin, even diluted, and you expose your skin to UV light, such as the sun or a tanning bed, that it will actually affect the pigment-producing cells, the melanocytes in your skin. So other citrus oils, such as grapefruit and lemon, are also phototoxic. So you want to make sure you stay out of direct sunlight for a good 6 to 8 hours after application, or simply use them at night. So again, these are very basic things that anyone who uses essential oils should know, but many people do not. Now, getting specifically into essential oils for cancer care, that is a specialty area of mine, and things that I use on people in terms of alleviating their side effects from treatments. I do not attempt to cure cancer. You cannot do that with essential oils, but you can do a lot of things that will help people tolerate their treatments better. So things like preserving skin integrity in someone who's undergoing radiation therapy, quelling chemo-induced nausea or anticipatory nausea from chemo treatments, alleviating chemo-induced peripheral neuropathy. Jason, thank you. I will get into that in just a moment. Okay. Black hand and foot syndrome, raising your blood values. If you cannot undergo chemo because your blood values have dropped too much, that can be a big problem for people who are undergoing long-term treatment. So alleviating depression and anxiety and emotional shock, which normally comes with early in the diagnosis. Helping chemo brain, helping you with your mental focus, exhaustion, which is common in most types of cancer treatment, healing surgical incisions, minimizing scarring, keeping chemo ports sanitized. All of those can be accomplished with proper use of essential oils. Now, it may interest you to know, although there are a lot of people out there talking about cancer and aromatherapy, that there are actually 30 legitimate studies, less than 30, that have been done worldwide specific to essential oils and cancer. Most of them are regarding D-limonene, which is a common component of citrus fruits. It's in all citrus fruits, and it's present in relatively high percentages. However, we don't want to ingest D-limonene. That would require ingesting a very, very large amount of essential oil, and essential oil ingestion is not something that I or most other legitimate aromatherapists will recommend because it is fraught with problems, the least of which is essential oils don't dissolve in water and they can cause all sorts of, yes, Jason, I will get to that in a moment. Yes, I will get to the life after cancer stuff, everyone. I just want to go over some basic safety precautions because they apply to cancer survivors as in addition to everyone else. And as I mentioned before, a lot of people are not familiar with proper essential oil use at all. But the D-limonene, post-cancer, if you eat a lot of citrus fruits, particularly in terms of breast cancer, that's something that is recommended to prevent a recurrence. Again, we don't want to use the D-limonene in essential oils because it would, in order to get the correct amount, we'd have to ingest a large amount of essential oils, and they are highly concentrated, and they do cause a lot of digestive problems. And that can be dangerous, even causing things like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease if you're ingesting them. Another typical myth you'll hear is about frankincense curing cancer. Frankincense does not cure, frankincense essential oil does not cure cancer. There is no evidence whatsoever that it does, although you can find lots of memes online about that. What is promising in the studies is a component of frankincense resin, not the essential oils, that is called boswellic acid. Okay, so there is no boswellic acid in the essential oil. It's chemically impossible for this to distill out. So some people do make their own infusions with frankincense resin that they drink on occasion. That is perfectly safe. That is not the same as ingesting an essential oil. So getting on to specific post-cancer issues. If you have a cancer that is hormone negative, basically pay attention to everything I've been saying so far in the presentation. The basic safety issues apply to you. That's all you need to worry about. Now, if you have hormone positive cancer, which I realize that it's the majority of breast cancers, there are many, many essential oils that you need to avoid. The reason being is that they are estrogen-like. We can't say they're estrogenic per se, but they do latch onto estrogen receptors and can cause you to develop a higher level of estrogen in your body. And that is what you and your doctor are trying to avoid. So rather than freak you out by giving you a big, long list of essential oils you should avoid, I'm going to give you some guidelines on avoiding them. So basically, starting out, you don't want to use anything that smells like roses or has a rose-like aroma. So those would be essential oils like rose geranium, palmarosa. And people say, well, what can I substitute for that? It depends on what you want to use that essential oil for. Do you want to use it for skincare? Do you want to use it for relaxation? Do you want to use it for anxiety or depression? So possible substitutions for those are lavender, ylang ylang, vetiver, sweet orange, mandarin, hoewood, or petitgrain. You also want to avoid anything that smells like licorice. So those would be essential oils like tarragon, anise, fennel, anything really except basil. Some of the basils can smell rather licorice-like. And these oils that I just mentioned, the tarragon, anise, and fennel, are normally used to move fluids in the body. They're a lymphatic stimulant or for analgesic purposes. So what you can substitute for those are sage, basil oil, juniper, cypress. And you may have heard that basil causes cancer. There was a study done quite some time ago, and it was done on mice. It was not done on human beings, that found that the methylchavicol or the methyl-eugenol that is present in basil caused liver cancer in these rats. However, they were given several times their body weight of pure methylchavicol to ingest daily. So unless you plan on ingesting several times your body weight of basil oil, you don't need to worry about it. It's not going to cause cancer. In terms of essential oils that do cause cancer, sassafras oil, which is not commonly available on the market. It has a high safrole content. You also find safrole in cinnamon and nutmeg, so I would avoid those oils. You also want to avoid anything that smells lemony or lemon-like, with the exception of lemon essential oil. Lemon essential oil is perfectly safe for you. However, things like lemongrass, lemon myrtle, lemon eucalyptus, palmarosa, maychang, lemon tea tree, citronella, all of those have potentially estrogen disrupting properties. So what you can substitute for those might be lavender, bergamot, vetiver, hoewood, cardamom, mandarin, Cape chamomile, Roman chamomile, patchouli. And a very common myth that I want to dispel is a lot of people believe that tea tree and lavender are estrogenic oils. They are not. About 20 years ago, there was a very poorly designed study done on a very tiny population of 3 people, actually, who were all related. 3 young boys who had breast development, their mother claimed and their chiropractor claimed, as a result of using Paul Mitchell tea tree shampoo, which also had allegedly lavender in it. That study has been debunked multiple times, and in fact, Paul Mitchell was not able to even prove that there was even any lavender or tea tree present in their shampoo. So this is not something to be afraid of. Lavender and tea tree do not cause cancer. Now, one of the most pleasant ways I can think of using essential oils, particularly if you're a beginner, is an aromatherapy bath. And it's easy, it's very effective. All you need to do is spend 15 minutes minimum in the bath. If you're like me, you might want to spend 2 hours soaking. But the way we want to do this, because essential oils do not disperse in water, is to use some sort of excipient. Usually a type of soap. I use Dr. Bronner Castile's unscented soap. You could also use Dawn dish detergent, an unscented shower gel. But take a little container, mix your essential oils in it, and run it with the excipient, and then dump the excipient and the essential oil mixture under the warm running water in your bath. So if you wanted something for stress, a good idea would be to use 2 drops of bergamot, 2 drops of lavender, and 2 drops of ylang ylang. Those are all safe oils for you. And then add that into your excipient. So essential oils for stress management. A lot of us are concerned with that, certainly post-cancer and certainly post-pandemic. So essential oils which are safe for you to use are lavender, ylang ylang, vetiver, sweet orange, mandarin, hoe wood, bergamot, Roman chamomile, Cape chamomile, Tanacetum annum, which is also known as blue tansy, frankincense, cardamom, bergamot mint, which is also known as Menthus citrata, or jasmine or sweet marjoram. In particular, for anxiety, I would recommend the bergamot, lavender, and Cape chamomile. Also jasmine when it involves boosting your confidence. If you want something that'll really take the edge off, the bergamot mint, which is a very underutilized oil, and that's becoming very popular lately. But some people call it orange mint, but it's properly known as bergamot mint. Insomnia. How many of you have trouble sleeping, particularly if you underwent any type of surgery where you had to have the ovaries removed and you go into instant menopause? And I've had postmenopausal insomnia. It is not a fun thing to deal with, but you can use bath therapy, as I just described, for that. But nice oils for insomnia would be lavender, Cape chamomile, Roman chamomile, frankincense, vetiver, mandarin, and sweet marjoram. For a carrier, if you wanted to do yourself a little aromatherapy blend, I recommend, if you're starting out, using a 1/2 ounce bottle. These are quite small. And the way you would make yourself a blend for insomnia is to take your carrier oil, your apricot kernel, your sweet almond, or whatever. You can fill with your carrier oil up to about the curve in the bottle. Again, you want to have room for putting in essential oils and room for shaking everything up so you don't spill. And you only need 10 or 12 drops of essential oil in a bottle this big. Again, don't be filling it up halfway with essential oil. So for menopausal insomnia, a possible recipe might be 3 drops of sweet marjoram, 4 drops of mandarin, 3 drops of frankincense or Cape chamomile. And you simply add your drops in one by one. Your essential oil bottle will have an orifice reducer on it, so you can pour it out drop by drop without worrying about spilling. And then you want to take a little capsule of vitamin A and break it open with the tip of a knife or a toothpick and squeeze a little capsule of vitamin A in there to prevent your carrier oil from going rancid. And this kind of blend will last you about 2 to 3 months. The way you want to use it is by applying a few drops to the temples, to the upper chest, to the tops of the shoulders, and just a few drops do it. If it feels oily or greasy after you've put it on, you've used too much. So that's an example of a blend you can do for stress. So I've had a couple questions about what are the top 5 oils I can use post-cancer. And honestly, the answer to that is, what do you want to accomplish? Are you looking for mental focus, something to deal with exhaustion, something to deal with skincare, something to deal with insomnia? The choice of oils depends on what you are trying to accomplish. So I've already given you a number that you cannot use. So if it's not on the list of the ones you cannot use, you're safe to use them. And I want to talk briefly about mental focus. Okay, another question I just got: can you add essential oils to Epsom salts and run a nice bath? Yes, you can. Epsom salts are great for sore muscles and joints. However, you do need to add an excipient to your bath, such as the unscented soap, the dish detergent, the unscented shower gel, some unscented shampoo, whatever, because Epsom salts are not going to allow the essential oils to disperse in the water. So yes, put several cups in of Epsom salts, as much as you want. You can also put sea salt in, baking soda in. I am a big believer in bath therapy because it really helps quell any anxiety. So Michelle says there are so many essential oil brands. Is there one I recommend? Full disclosure here, I do own an essential oil company called Aromaceuticals. So I, of course, am going to recommend that brand. I would advise you to be very careful. We used to only have a few companies on the market, even as little as 20 years ago. The market is saturated with essential oil suppliers, most of whom are selling synthetic or adulterated product. Don't buy anything off Amazon. I don't care what brand it is. That is a guarantee that you are going to get synthetic or adulterated oil. Even if you can find a legit company on Amazon, normally the legit companies will dump any old product or overstock product on there. So you're not necessarily getting best quality, but go with a company that asks you go with a company that's not making ridiculous claims. If someone makes claims for their oils that sound ridiculous or too good to be true, just run from that company. And so typical claims you might see are using such and such essential oil will repair your DNA. This essential oil will cure birth defects in utero. This essential oil is safe for you to ingest. Essential oils will oxygenate all the cells in your body. They will cross the blood-brain barrier. All of those are false claims. So if a company that sells essential oils is making those claims, I would not buy their product, because honestly, you don't know what you're buying. And please, actually, Michelle, I appreciate you asking, but you're asking kind of a loaded question here, and I am not going to recommend very specific companies. Again, look at the claims they're making, look at the training the people who are selling the essential oils have. Many people who are selling them have no training whatsoever. So they may give advice that is well-meaning, but they don't know what they don't know. So another question: how do you know what's a quality oil? If the company's been in business a long time and they have a really good reputation, the average consumer on the street cannot ascertain essential oil quality. You just don't have the background to do that, and that's simply being honest with you. It is helpful if a company lists an analysis of the oil on the website or is able to email that to you if you request it. That is not necessarily a sign of quality. It just means the essential oils have been tested. But that is better than not having an analysis at all. At least that shows you they care somewhat about the product. Price is also key. If you're buying bargain basement oils, a bottle of tea tree this big for $4, that's an indicator that that oil's been adulterated or is synthetic. Also, not buying from an essential oil specialty company. There are very few stores, even Whole Foods and Sprouts and Pharmaca and whatnot, that sell essential oils that are actually selling a really good quality. I mean, they're selling the cheapest oils that they can make a profit on. And unless you live in a very enlightened part of the country, such as, wow, I'm getting too many questions here to answer at one time. But if you live in, say, Boulder, Colorado, or Minneapolis, St. Paul, or San Rafael, California, yeah, you can walk into a health food store and probably find some really nice, high-quality brands. But normally, buying from a specialty company that only does essential oils, you're more likely to get a better quality. Can you grow plants and easily extract your own oils? Doing your own distillation is a really big trend right now. And I would say in large part, no. I mean, if you want to do that for fun, it's fine. But realize to get a kilo of lavender, which is about a quart or so, you need to have access to 75 pounds of lavender buds. And those little lavender buds that are the size of a grain of rice. So you need to have access to a lot of raw material. One of the reasons essential oils are so expensive is because they are very plant and labor intensive. So if you were to distill your own oils, you'd have to have acres and acres and acres of land or someone who can provide you with many, many pounds of raw material to get any of your own yield of essential oils. And you also need to know how to distill as well, because there is an art for that. So I've gotten several questions about where can I go to take classes? And is there a good quality website to see the best for testing quality oils if you don't live in California? Simply ask the essential oil company that you're buying from to provide you with their analysis. And if they say no, that's not necessarily a good sign. If you actually want to do your own essential oil testing, that's not something I recommend. You need to go to an analytical chemist who specializes in doing that. The test costs in the United States about $350 to $400 a piece. It is not practical for a consumer to test their own oils. So you do need to rely on what the essential oil company supplies you with. And again, the testing is only an indicator of purity. It is not an indication of quality. So where can you go to learn about essential oils? What I recommend is don't go to websites such as Dr. Josh Axe, Livestrong, Dr. Joseph McCullough, David Avocado Wolf. Those are really popular sites with consumers, but those guys are not aromatherapists and they give a lot of incorrect information. Your best source of information and also a listing of classes that are available is going to be from a professional aromatherapy organization. So the Alliance of International Aromatherapists, the National Association for Holistic Aromatherapy. Those are two that are in the United States. The Canadian Federation of Aromatherapists, they also give a lot of online classes that Americans can take. Aroma Web is a clearinghouse for essential oil information that a lot of people like. The Tisserand Institute is a very good place to look at research. Aromatherapy United is a website that I recommend that everyone visit because they do a free service to the aromatherapy community. They publish an annual adverse effects report which is really informative, where you can learn about people who've been injured from improperly using essential oils. And they name specific companies you should avoid. They name specific practices you should avoid. And this is all provided on a volunteer basis. And it's really eye-opening to read those. And last but not least, our National Institutes of Health has a free website called PubMed. And you can enter in the botanical name of any essential oil and the condition you want to treat, and it'll pop up all the research studies that are related to it, if there are any. And you'd be surprised, there's quite a few that show up online. You may have to pay for access to some of these studies, but quite a few of them can be downloaded for free. But to do the search is completely free to you. So a question, what is the difference between purity and quality? Purity means, is the essential oil adulterated? Does it have a synthetic or natural chemical that's been added to it? Has it had some vegetable oil poured into it to thin it out? In other words, has somebody monkeyed with the natural chemistry of the essential oil? So that is purity. Quality and purity are not the same thing. You can have a perfectly pure essential oil that is extremely low quality. And a lot of people will say, well, only the organics are of good quality. That's not necessarily true. Organic essential oils have become so popular that the market has been flooded with them. You can have bad quality organics and have a conventionally produced essential oil that is actually better quality. So it's a matter of getting to know your suppliers and trusting your suppliers. We are close to the end of our time. If there are any questions that I haven't answered, because I know I was getting 3 and 4 coming up at one time, I'll be happy to answer them.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
I think that something that might be of interest, if we, and I know it's a big question to ask at the end, but just what so many people struggle with in survivorship is the mindset coming out of cancer and so many of the things that you dealt with as far as insomnia, anxiety, depression. So if I were someone in survivorship who was coming to you and I just said, my mind is not in a good place. I have, things are going well with my cancer. I'm cancer free, but I'm just having some kind of a mindset. Can you maybe just give a little synopsis of what type of program you might set up for them as professional aromatherapists? I mean, would it be just some of the recommendations that you might do with some of the oils based on that?
Yeah.
And I'm not allergic to anything.
It would be sitting down with them and finding out what the specific issue is. For instance, fear. If you're having fear coming out of the journey, what is the fear of? Is it of the unknown? Something like lavender essential oil is great for fear of the unknown. Has it destroyed your confidence? Something like jasmine essential oil would be appropriate for that, or grapefruit essential oil. So honestly, it's very individual. I do a full health profile on someone. I get a list of all their medications. I talk to them about the specifics of what they are experiencing and what they want to work on, because everyone's needs are different. And what we honor in clinical aromatherapy is that we do bespoke, we do custom work for people, because what works for one person may not necessarily work for another. Is that answering your question, Rosemary?
Well, I'm just thinking, so we've ascertained the problem. Let's just say that it's fear. What kind of program would you put me on? How would I use a prescription, the prescribed essential oil? Would I?
Okay, so we don't prescribe, we recommend, unless we're a physician or a nurse practitioner. So what I would do normally is pick the 2 major issues that they are dealing with and do some bespoke blends for that they would be using on a daily basis. And after 3 or 4 weeks, revisit with them to see what that blend is accomplishing for them, if their mindset is changing, if we need to combine their therapy with something else like bodywork therapy or flower essence therapy to enhance the way the oils work, or if they have something else going on with them that, I might refer them out to another practitioner. But normally it's daily use of 1 or 2 aromatherapy blends for several weeks until a change is elicited, and then tinkering with it from then on. And usually I'm not working with a person for more than 3 or 4 months before their blends are straightened out. And then if they have a different concern that pops up, we can adjust that. Is that too vague?
Well, it's just with fear, I just like, are there going to be bags involved? I mean, is it something that you would carry with you? Some of the different, I think probably just an example of some of the different delivery systems that might be.
Delivery systems, we could do home diffusion. They could do a diffusion in their car if they travel a lot, like if they have a sales job or something. I really like these little sniffy sticks or personal inhalers. In addition to the roll-ons that we talked about, these can be carried with you. You can travel with them if you need to. But also these little inhalation sticks. If you are familiar with the old Vicks Vapor Rub sticks, they have a wick in them that are filled with essential oil. They can be inhaled, simply held under the nose and inhaled for about 5 minutes or so. And usually that is sufficient enough to provoke the desired reaction. And these have a fairly long shelf life, depending on what's in them, for 6 months, maybe even up to 2 years. But most often I do a topical application that is in a bottle, in a pump bottle, and they pump it out and use it as needed. You can also do your own aromatherapy inhalation off a blend that by inhaling direct from the bottle. I don't recommend this in COVID times if you're sharing bottles with people, or simply put a drop or two on a cotton ball or on a tissue and inhale from that. Women, you can place the tissue or cotton ball in your bra. The heat from your body will cause that essential oil to waft up continually, so you may smell that for as long as a couple hours and have the therapy continue that way.
One of the things that I really love about essential oils, and I've used them for a long time too, as a cancer survivor, when I was going through cancer, I didn't put any essential oils on my body, but lavender was in our house. Because that was able to soothe me and make me relax. And I use that continuously when I go in for scans now, or if I have a blood test coming up, because I get really high anxiety. And lavender and also jasmine. Now, I love the fact that you said every oil is different. So I do specific blends for the specific person, which is fabulous. Because as we know, every cancer is different. All of our DNAs are different.
Exactly.
As individuals, we've grown up differently. So our fears, our anxieties and whatnot for one person is going to be different from the other. But jasmine is very calming. And why is it calming to me? It's because when I was a little girl, I would go to my grandmother's house in Ventura and I can walk up, and there was nothing but jasmine and rose bushes. And the soothing smell brought me back to that time, and still does. And it was like, okay, my grandma's with me. I'm okay. Now, I didn't use essential oils when obviously I was going for my chemo treatment, because that's a no-no in hospitals. But it was nice to, when I got in the car, I had it. Or it was on the blanket that I had already, because I've used it so much. So there's a lot of different ways that I think essential oils can help soothe us, our anxieties, our fears. I love the suggestion you have about the little travel packs. I do have Sajay, which is out of Vancouver, Canada, and I have a little travel pouch that I go when I'm on my way to a hotel because I hate sleeping in someone else's bed. But it's nice to have it's specifically made for sleeping, and it works for me and what I do. And I think it's really, obviously, what you are the expert at oils, so important to have the best quality oil that's out there, because there are a lot of oils that are out there that are not quality. So I'm so grateful that you were able to be on tonight and let us know about this. If someone wants to contact you, can we put your information up on the screen for everybody?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do periodically give basic level classes. I'm trying to plan one for online. I normally do them in person here in Rancho Mirage, but I can really do them in any part of the United States. And I was really glad you mentioned your psychosomatic association with the jasmine, because definitely people can have positive and, for that matter, negative association with essential oils. So if it has a positive association with a life experience, by all means, use it. And I want to add that,
especially when we're talking about life after cancer and cancer in general, we want to feel positive. We have enough negativity in our lives and
Exactly.
scares and anxieties. So if there's smells or if there's music or whatever it is, we really want to know, like, how do we utilize that? Where do we utilize that? Where, when we come to someone like you, what are the positive stuff that we can pull out of something that is so simple? Like, it's literally that simple, right?
it is that simple. As long as you know what not to do, you're unlimited almost in what you can do.
The beauty of essential oils is that they can just enhance your life so much. And I agree with you that less is more, because you can get sensitized to them. I can be around anywhere near peppermint oil at this point. But the beauty of essential oils, to just be able to take a couple of drops and put it in your lotion in the morning, to kind of give you that energy and that lift and prepare you mentally for the day, or prepare you mentally to go into that scan, or prepare you mentally to walk into a room of people for the first time after isolation, either through treatment or through the world that we live in today. Mm-hmm. They're very powerful, but they're just beautiful, simple, natural steps that we can take that just can help us so much. Nature can help us so much, and that's what essential oils represent.
Yeah. And I want to just say a little bit about lavender, because so many of us are familiar with it, and it really doesn't have any known contraindications or cautions to it. Lavender has the exact same effect on your brain as diazepam, as Valium. This has been clinically shown. So it's great for anxiety, for nerves, for white coat syndrome, for fears that you cannot describe. A lot of times people will be afraid of something, but they can't elucidate what they're afraid of. For insomnia, we call it the universal oil in aromatherapy because it's good for so many things, and it's a really safe one.
Well, one of my questions, thank you, when I was asking about what are some top oils that would be, generally safe for people. My other question is, I'm very interested when you said that there were essential oils to help to keep ports clean.
Yes.
And I work with ports all the time, so that kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah, there was actually a study done by a wound care specialist who's a physical therapist in Australia, where they found out that the essential oils were more effective than iodine, believe it or not. And they, for some reason, stopped using them. I think because the iodine in the hospital was more plentiful and cheaper. But yeah, you can absolutely use essential oils for that. And that's a pleasant way to sanitize that area. Okay, and I lost contact with everybody, so, okay, Dr. Fung.
Are there specific essential oils for the purpose of disinfecting a port?
Yes, and I would have to look them up. I remember that tea tree and lavender were among 2 of them, but there were about 4 oils used in that study.
Awesome, thank you.
Awesome. Well, again, we're out of time. Thank you, everyone who joined in tonight. We'll make sure to put up Catherine's, all of her information up on our Shays Warriors YouTube after our broadcast. Just a little disclosure for all. The information contained tonight in Talk, Listen, and Share is for general information and purposes only. The information provided by this program, known as Talk, Listen, and Share, is of Shays Warriors. And while we endeavor to keep the information up to date and correct, we must make no representations or warranties of any kind, express or implied, about the completeness, accuracy, and reliability of tonight's broadcast. We thank you guys so very much. We always encourage you to do your own educational research. We talk, we listen, we share, and we thank you guys all very, very much. Have a wonderful evening, shayswarriors.org. And if you like what we're doing, check us out online. See you in 2 weeks for Fear and Anxiety on September 9th. And it will be a panel discussion.
Excuse me, September.
Thank you so much, and I enjoyed presenting to you.
It'll be September the 8th, Wednesday, for the next presentation on the fears in survivorship.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.